rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I'm going to be talking about some verses towards the end of Surah Luqman, and then a couple of verses in Surah Sajda, and then the beginning of Surah Al-Ahzab. Surah Luqman is named because of the mention of Luqman. There are differences of opinion about whether Luqman was a prophet or he was just a wise man, but it's so called because there is a long, lengthy advice of Luqman to his son. And basically, if any one of us takes that advice and puts it into practice, it will actually straighten out our lives, and it will be sufficient for us to actually lead our lives according to complete Islamic principles. But I want to focus on the last few verses of the surah. The disbelievers used to come to the Prophet ﷺ and ask him silly questions like, when is the day of judgment going to take place? And he used to reply, Al-ilmu indallah. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the knowledge. Then they used to say that, when is the rain going to fall? Where is it going to fall? He used to say, Al-ilmu indallah. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Then they used to say that, my wife is pregnant. Tell me about the baby in the womb. Boy, girl, how long is going to live? When is it going to be born? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. He used to respond. And so on. So these types of questions they used to ask. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed verses responding to their questions, which are mentioned at the end of Surah Luqman. And these are 5 hidden things that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about. What are they? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allaha indahu ilmu sa'a. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only has the knowledge of as-sa'a, the hour or the day of judgment. وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ, and He sends down the rainfall. Only He knows when and where exactly the rain will fall. Okay, the question many people might have is, okay, we have the weathermen, they predict the weather and they tell us pretty much accurately that where the rain is going to fall. The answer to that is that it's not always accurate, and they rely upon the different signs in the air, the wind speed and the air pressure and where the clouds are and everything to come to a conclusion, and that conclusion is not always right. So basically they have an estimate which sometimes is accurate, sometimes it isn't. So the reality is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly where the rain is going to fall, and He knows exactly how many drops are going to fall and how long it's going to fall for, etc. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. The weatherman can only say that there will be rain in this area for a certain amount of time, but exactly how much, for how long, and whether actually it will happen or not, nobody actually knows. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and He knows what is in the wombs. Okay, somebody might say, well, nowadays we can find out what is in the wombs, male or female, etc. We can find out. But that's not only what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. That's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to. He says, ma fil arham. Ma is usually used for things which are not related to a human being. Okay, so He doesn't say man fil arham. He doesn't say who is in the wombs, but He says what is in the wombs, in terms of the life of that child that is going to be born, the exact time when that child is going to be born, what genetic defects will the child have that the doctors cannot pick up on while that child is in the womb. Okay, what kind of rizq and sustenance is that child going to bring? Is that child going to be shaqi or sa'id? Meaning, is he going to be following Islam and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? Or he's going to be shaqi, meaning that he's not going to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of these things only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and it's not just limited to male and female. Otherwise, yes, we can find out the gender of the child pretty accurately in this day and age. And then وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا, and you don't know what you're going to earn tomorrow. Meaning, if you have a business deal tomorrow, you can basically have an estimate of if that business deal goes through, if the sale contract is agreed upon, how much you're going to make. You can have an estimate, but then you don't know whether that deal is going to go through or not. Okay, you don't know if they're going to half the order that they originally wanted, or they're going to double the order. Okay, so all of these things are related to what is mentioned, that you don't know what you're going to earn tomorrow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give you more, He may give you less. Only Allah truly knows what your earning is going to be tomorrow. And finally, something which is very powerful and poignant, especially in the light of recent passing away of the father of our community member. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. And you don't know which land you're going to pass away on. Okay? Which land is it going to be where the angel of death is going to take you? So many people, they go from here, for example, to Mecca, Medina, and pass away over there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with such a death. And they are completely healthy before they leave. And on the other hand, many people come and they come here to visit their children or their relatives, and their death is written over here, so they pass away over here. So we don't know when or where our death is going to come. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. So these are the 5 hidden things that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly knows about, that I mentioned at the end of Surah Luqman. The next surah is Surah Al-Sajda, and it's called Surah Al-Sajda because there is a sajda in it, sajda to tilawa. And this is the surah that it's sunnah to recite on Fridays. Okay, this last Friday, Hafiz Huzaifa, he recited it, and it does tend to be a bit lengthy, and people tend to get tired. We had an uncle after the salat, he came up to me, he said, "Why was the salat so lengthy?" And I told him it's a sunnah. He said, "I was sitting on a chair and I still got tired." So this basically why it's sometimes it's good to do that, just to implement the sunnah, but it's not readily acceptable by everybody because of the length of it. So in the first rak'ah, it's sunnah to read Surah Al-Sajda. In the second rak'ah, Surah Al-Dahr. So in the middle of this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the qualities of the believers. One of the most difficult things to do is to leave your bed early in the morning to come for Fajr prayer. Especially when the weather is cold, the bed is warm, you have a nice mattress that you're sleeping upon, and to leave the bed at that time, it is the most difficult. So after the verse of sajda, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all describes the people who make the sajda. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, who are they? تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. These are the people that separate their sides from their beds. Okay, they separate themselves from the bed. Okay, once the adhan is done, they hear salatu khayrun minan nawm. There's no way that they can stay in the beds anymore. They separate themselves from the bed and they go and fulfill the obligation of fulfilling the salat. These are the people that are mentioned here in Surah Al-Sajda. تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. What qualities do they have? They separate their sides from their beds and they call their Lord خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا, with the fear and with طمع means with an avarice or a greed. They want what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for them in terms of reward. And وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and from what we have given to them from sustenance, they spend from it. Allah says in the next verse, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُمْ مِنْ قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Nobody knows what is hidden for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hidden for them the coolness of the eyes, meaning in the future, in Jannah, the blessings that they see, it will indeed cool their eyes, and they will become extremely overjoyed because of these minor efforts, the small efforts that they made to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, a reward of whatever in response to or in place of whatever they were doing. The last thing I want to talk about is the beginning of Surah Al-Ahzab. And in these beginning verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the issue of adoption. And we know that the story of Zayd ibn Haritha, who was a slave that had been given to the Prophet ﷺ by his wife Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And slowly, the Prophet ﷺ set him free, and the parents actually came, found him after looking for him for many years, and the Prophet offered him the choice to leave and go with them, but he preferred to stay with the Prophet ﷺ. Because Zayd had been brought up by the Prophet ﷺ, people used to actually refer to him as Zayd bin Muhammad. Zayd, the son of Muhammad, because of the fact that he was always with him, interacting with him, coming, going, he was serving him. So he became known as Zayd bin Muhammad. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse which says, "Udu'uhum li'aba'ihim huwa aqsatu 'inda Allah." This is at the beginning of Surah Al-Ahzab. Call them with the names of their fathers. This is more just in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then from that point on, people then referred back to the name of his original father, Zayd ibn Haritha, Zayd the son of Haritha. So many people actually think that you're not allowed to adopt children at all. And this is not the case. You're allowed to adopt children as long as the lineage and the family tree is clearly explained to those children, and you don't tell them, okay, I'm your father. Okay? You cannot do that. Okay? So you take a small child, take them up for adoption, and you make him think for so many years that, yes, we're your real parents. And then at the age of 25, 30, you tell him, and then it's like a bombshell dropping upon him, we're not really your real parents. Okay? So if from childhood you make it very clear to the child that we are not your parents and somebody else are your parents, and maybe even tell the child who they are, then the adoption is fine. Otherwise, to say that we are your parents, this is not permissible in Islam. And that is because the family tree, the lineage in Islam is sacred. It cannot be changed. It cannot be tampered with. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in a hadith that the person who claims that somebody else is his father other than his true father, he will not smell the fragrance of paradise, even though the fragrance of paradise can be smelt from a distance of 50 years away. Okay, so this important principle should be kept in mind. Okay, there are other rules, the issue of hijab and all that stuff. When the children are boys, the hijab that the mother has to do or the foster mother has to do in front of them. These are rules also for adoption, but the issue of adoption itself, there is actually nothing wrong with it. Now, if the child starts calling the foster father daddy just because he thinks he is a father figure, then there's nothing wrong with that, as long as he knows that his true father is somebody else. And this brings me to another issue that comes up from time to time. I always get emails about this issue. Women, they email me and they ask me about this issue of changing the name after getting married. Okay? And they ask the question, is it permissible for a woman to change her name? And they quote this hadith. They quote this same hadith about being attributed to another father. The answer to this question is basically that changing of the name is a cultural phenomenon. It is a cultural thing, and the meaning of that doesn't mean that you're attributing fatherhood of that daughter to somebody else. Okay? So just because she changes her name to the name of her husband, in Pakistan the first name of the husband is adopted. Okay? Here the last name of the family name is adopted. Okay? So this is because of the culture which is prevalent here. It doesn't mean that she is changing her father's name or saying that my father is somebody else. If she's doing that, then yes, then that would be impermissible. But what she's doing, she's basically doing something which is cultural, and it's not a sin to do that. It's not impermissible to do that. If she doesn't want to do it, it's fine, but it's also not a sin to adopt the name of the husband, as long as it's very clear who the father is, who her father is, and she's not changing the name to make it show that my father is somebody else. So that hadith should be understood in its correct context and should not be misunderstood. With that, inshallah, we finish. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.